I remember the exact second the room tilted. Not because I stood up, but because something inside me went quiet. She said it loud enough to bounce off the walls. Loud enough to invite witnesses. Loud enough to make it a verdict, not a threat. Her voice cut clean. Practiced, like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. The sentence ended with a smile that wasn't meant for me. It was meant for everyone else, to make them complicit. Silence followed. The kind that doesn't comfort. The kind that waits. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I didn't ask why the woman I had protected for years decided to crucify me publicly. I just stared at the grain of the table and let the words sink until they reached bone. "You'll return begging," that was the line she crossed. The restaurant was warm, too warm, with lights that softened faces and sharpened mistakes. Our friends sat around us. Forks paused midair, pretending not to listen while listening harder than ever. Glasses sweated onto white tablecloths. Someone laughed too late. Someone else avoided my eyes. She leaned back in her chair, satisfied. Queen of the moment. She had always loved control, but tonight she wanted applause. Months earlier, I'd refused job offers because of her. Better cities, better pay, better futures. "We're not ready," she'd said. I need stability. I mistook fear for partnership. I mistook manipulation for love. Tonight, she weaponized that sacrifice. I felt the heat crawl up my neck, but my hand stayed steady. Calm has always been my disguise. People think silence means weakness. They don't know it's how I count exits. The waiter came by asking if everything was okay. I nodded. My wife didn't look at me. She was too busy enjoying the aftermath. I stood. No announcement, no slammed chair, just the quiet scrape of wood against tile. Every head lifted. She finally looked at me then, eyebrows raised, daring me to perform. I didn't give her that. I left cash on the table, enough to cover my share and then some, a small courtesy at a funeral. I walked out without a word. The door closed behind me like a sealed promise. Outside, the night air felt surgical. Cold, precise, honest. I walked for a long time, past storefronts that reflected a version of me I didn't recognize yet. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I didn't check it. The first rule of clarity is distance. Her words replayed, but they no longer stung. They clarified. She thought I had nowhere to go. That my identity ended at her approval. That my hesitation was dependence. She was wrong. The emotional bond didn't snap. It evaporated quietly, efficiently, like oxygen leaving a room. By the time I reached my apartment, our apartment, I knew what I was going to do. Not out of anger. Out of alignment. I slept that night like a man who had finally accepted the truth. The next morning, I accepted the offer. The one she'd mocked, the one she'd blocked, the one I'd shelved for us. It was still open. Turns out, competence ages well. I didn't tell her. I packed a single bag, not out of spite, but out of precision. I took what was mine and left what was shared. I left a note on the counter. 3 sentences, no accusations, no explanations. Asterisk, I'm taking space. I need time. Don't contact me, asterisk, I blocked her number before the kettle finished boiling. That's when the silence began to work for me. Revenge isn't loud when done right. It's administrative. I changed my mailing address, redirected my income, closed joint accounts. The legal steps were boring, methodical, and devastating in their finality. I had always handled the finances. She liked the illusion of control, not the labor. At work, I thrived. New city, new rhythm. My name carried weight again. I moved with the confidence of someone who no longer needed permission. Weeks passed. Then the messages started, from friends first. Asterisk, she's worried. She didn't mean it. You should talk, asterisk, then the emails from her work account. Polite at first, then curious, then confused, then sharp. She was losing traction. Control hates uncertainty. She showed up at my old office once. I heard about it later. She told people I'd cracked, that I was having a crisis, that I'd be back. She needed that story to survive. Meanwhile, I was building a new one. The real unraveling began when the comforts disappeared. The credit cards declined. The utilities flagged overdue payments. The gym membership she loved sent cancellation notices. Small humiliations. Death by paper cuts. She called my parents, my sister, anyone who might pressure me to re-engage. I had already spoken to them calmly, factually. No drama, just enough truth to inoculate them against her narrative. She started to panic. That's when she remembered the line she'd thrown at me. You'll return begging, projection is confession. I kept receipts. Not screenshots, not recordings, but patterns. The way she discouraged my career. The way decisions always bent toward her comfort. The way my boundaries were reframed as betrayal. I didn't collect these to hurt her. I collected them to remind myself. Weeks turned into months. I filed quietly. No spectacle, no social media posts, no grand reveal, just documents submitted and processed. The day she was served, she finally reached me through a new number. Different tone. Please, she said. Not yelled, not performed, just small. I listened. I always listened. She talked about stress, misunderstandings, bad timing, love. She never apologized for the words. She didn't have to. They had already done their work. I let the silence stretch until it became instructive. I won't be coming back, I said. She cried then, real tears. Not the strategic kind. The kind that comes when leverage is gone. She asked where I was staying. I didn't answer. She asked if we could meet. I agreed. Closure deserves an audience of two. We met in a quiet cafe. Neutral territory, clean lines, no memories. She arrived early, nervous, smaller. Power doesn't age well without reinforcement. I arrived on time, calm, unhurried. She looked at me like I was a puzzle she could no longer solve, like the rules had changed and no one gave her the update. I didn't think you'd actually leave, she said. There it was. Not regret. Surprise. You know how I get when I'm angry, she added quickly. I nodded and let her keep talking. People reveal themselves when you don't interrupt. She reached for my hand. I moved my coffee instead. I was wrong, she said finally. I need you. I smiled then, not cruelly, but clearly. That's the difference, I said. I don't need you anymore. Her face collapsed inward like a structure losing its supports. I stood and placed a folder on the table. Divorce papers, neat, complete. You taught me something important, I said. Public disrespect isn't a mistake. It's a test. She whispered my name. I left it unanswered. The payoff wasn't her suffering. It was my steadiness. I didn't gloat. I didn't punish. I simply removed myself from a system that thrived on my compliance. She told people I had changed. She wasn't wrong. I had learned the value of quiet exits, of preparation over performance, of choosing dignity when chaos offers applause. Months later, I heard she still told the story about the night at the restaurant. How she pushed too hard. How she lost me. She never mentions the line. I do, because it reminds me of the moment I stopped negotiating my worth. She thought I'd return begging. I returned successful, detached, and free. And I never looked back.